Hello, everybody. I am Drew Duncan. Do not forget that Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. Additionally, you can find me on YouTube and Patreon. Simply look for Drew Duncan Radio. And do not forget that I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Simply tell your device to play Drew Duncan on Google Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Castbox, Deezer, iHeartRadio. I am wherever you are listening to podcasts, and if you'd like, always check the description with the direct links to the podcast. Yeah, I really have been excited for this new XFL reboot. I really have been. I think it feels better, obviously, than it did the last time. There was a massive buildup, right? And the initial ratings were phenomenal. And they were doing things that was, look, the problem is they advertised the XFL as being this hardcore, no rules. I think a lot of us tuned in thinking that people were not going to be wearing helmets. I mean, this was going to be a little bit more violent than football already is, right? I mean, I think we really believed that it was going to be something astronomical, beyond anything that we could have even imagined in our minds, right? So the way that it was built up and then the end product that we got ended up being two completely different things. They had all these issues with, the feed going out. They had issues with guys getting hurt during the way that they would do the coin toss, which I thought was actually kind of cool and original. But then they did some things that ultimately were innovative, right? The camera angles and some of the other things that they did that really kind of stuck later on. Here's the deal. The XFL is, as you know, rebooting, and I think a lot of us have seen the new rules, right? And I talked about this actually months ago. But what they did was, instead of just having somebody explain this, they actually gave you a drawing and a showing of what a potential play is going to look like. I mean, they really put the rules out there and gave it to you in under 2 minutes, basically, and just kind of gave you a quick preview so that way you could get a good understanding of drawing up these plays, what some of this could potentially look like. And the XFL is once again in the risk factor business, right? That's what Vince McMahon is all about, the risk factor business, because he took a lot of risk when he was in complete control over the WWE and overseeing everything. I mean, he was there all of the time, and many people did not even know, including myself, that he actually owned the damn company. I mean, we had no idea that that was actually Vince's baby. Of course, years later, it all comes out of the woodwork. We find out that he's not just a front man, but it actually his company. And he took a lot of risks. The Attitude Era was a huge risk for both WCW and then WWF, right? It's what it's all about, taking that risk. And I think McMahon is taking some very good, innovative risk. He's listening to fans. He's putting the feelers out there. He wants to know what it is that we want to see. And that's where the NFL, and really, as much as I love college football, both missed as of late. They both have missed the bar in terms of what do you really want a game of football to look like? Something as simple as the overtime rules, right? The NFL refuses to concede to what we want to see. Many people do not want to see a team go down the field and score, and then a guy like a Drew Brees, a Patrick Mahomes, a Tom Brady, whoever, Aaron Rodgers, doesn't get a chance to rebuttal. Now, I will say this, justifiably in a way, it is the professional level, and so the idea isn't necessarily about fairness. It's about, these are the rules, this is how we expect you to win. If you want to win the football game, defensively, you're going to have to make a stop, right? So to be fair, that is part of it. Regardless, I think a good majority of fans want to see the antithesis. And the XFL has said, okay, you guys like the college style of overtime. We heard you say that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to line everybody up. You're going to get 5 shots. You're going to get X amount of points for each shot in overtime. Whoever scores the most wins. And there's never going to be a tie. So if at the end of those 5 tries, we have a tie somehow, some way, which, by the way, is statistically impossible because it's going to be 3-2. There's never going to be a tie. There will never be a tie. Well, I don't want to say it's statistically impossible. I mean, it could go 1-1, 2-2, whatever. But regardless, they're just going to keep on going. So if something happens, boom. They've done things with the extra point. We're not going to kick extra point field goals. Hell no. You're going to get 1, 2, or 3. You can go from the 2-yard line, the 5-yard line, to the 10-yard line. Tell me where you want to take a risk on getting your points. That's exciting. That's exciting. See, sport is supposed to entertain. And most sport, by definition, is sports entertainment. So for all those people that hate the WWE, for all those people who talk about how fake wrestling is, I'm not saying the NFL is fake. I'm not saying the XFL is fake. I'm not saying basketball or MMA or anything else is fake. I am simply telling you that it's all technically defined as entertainment. And what is it supposed to do? Entertain you. And McMahon is trying to figure out the ultimate way to entertain us. And he did that again with yet another step when he said, hey, I'm going to allow 2 forward passes behind the line of scrimmage. We're not going to do replay nonsense. We're not going to decide if it was 1 inch one way or the other. We're not going to deal with that. We're just going to tell you that as long as that first pass is behind the line of scrimmage, you can throw it a little forward. And from there, somebody else can throw the football forward. So the only thing that's going to get reviewed at that point in certain situations is whether or not he was over the line, right? Which is a perfectly reasonable review. And so I think that what we're all seeing right now is just reasonable football. Now, whether or not the product is actually going to produce entertainment in terms of the athletes and all the other things that go into it, that has yet to be seen, obviously. But I think that this whole thing has such a different feel than it did before. I've heard the term promise short and deliver long. And I think the last time McMahon promised long and then, of course, obviously delivered very short. I think right here he's kind of finding a good middle ground. Hey, we're going to try some new things. We want to, give you guys a good time. We want to give you a good show. We want to make it fun for the players. Because if the players are having fun, that's when you watch some really good sport then, right? So those are some of the things that we're going to be, looking for. Trying some different things. Now, I will say this. I'm not too keen on some of the camera angles. I like the idea of seeing the quarterback throw, which, by the way, the NFL has already tried to hijack that before the XFL season even started. I think that's probably why they quit advertising that aspect of it so much. But then they did this one angle where a wide receiver caught the ball, and it was almost like he was running. It looked like a globe or something. It was like he was running on the axis of the world or something. I didn't like that at all. And of course, I made mention of when I did that thing a little while ago about their draft. I certainly didn't like how that went either. I thought that was a little confusing, doing a little bit too much. Okay, but again, nothing is perfect. They're resetting all this stuff. And so there's some things that I like. There's some things that I don't like. And I think that as long as they have a successful season, that's what we need. We need something to sustain for longer than a season. The AAF didn't even finish out their year. It didn't even get to the playoffs. That's how poor financial decision makings and all kinds of other stuff that were happening with that went down. This whole thing is going to have to be at least successful for one season in order to get through this. And we as the viewers, if we're truly hungry for something else, well, then we're going to have to show that by tuning in, aren't we? That's just going to have to be the bottom line to that scenario. Guys, I am Drew Duncan. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. Don't forget, you can also find me on YouTube and Patreon. Simply look for Drew Duncan Radio, and I am wherever you're listening to podcasts. Simply check the description to the direct link to wherever you want to listen to my podcast. Apple, Spreaker, Spotify, Google, Deezer, etc. Wherever you're listening, I am there. And as always, don't you dare touch that dial.